So growing up, one of the board games that my family always enjoyed playing was the game Clue. And for those who don't know what this board game is, it's a mystery slash who done it type of board game where the objective of the game is to figure out who committed the murder. Obviously, there wasn't a physical murder; it's just a game. Um, but you have to figure out not only who the murderer was, but also the weapon that was used, as well as what room it took place in. And it takes place in this mansion. Supposedly, I know it's just a board game, but it's this big mansion, and there's different rooms that this murder could have committed. This murder could have been committed. And so then each player you can play usually from like 3 to 6 players. There was a time I played it with 2 people, just myself and one other person. Yeah, that game was just way too easy. And so, but usually it's between 3 to 6 players, and everyone is given a notebook with all the different suspects, the weapons, and the rooms. But then you're also given playing cards with all that same information, whether it could be a person, it could be a weapon, or a room. And usually, the more people that are playing, the less cards you get. And before you started passing out those cards, you would take one card from each of those 3 categories: a suspect, a weapon, and a room. And then you take those, you put them in an envelope, you put that in the middle of the table, and you have to figure out what those 3 cards are in order to win the game. And so as you go about this game, you have to enter in different rooms with and try to figure out, okay, was it with this person with this weapon in a certain room? And with the different people around you, the different players, you might be able to get an additional clue. You might be given an extra way to figure out, okay, this person has this card, this person has this card, and it can help you eliminate different suspects or weapons as well as rooms. And you're trying to get all the information you can because you didn't start with everything. And by the end of the game, someone has to make a guess on who done it, of who committed the murder. You give the name, or you give the murderer, the suspect, you give the weapon, as well as you give the location, the room. Now today we're going to be talking about how how he has all the information, that we might not have all the information ourselves, but God, he holds more information, not just about the world, but he has all the information about ourselves. Not just who we are, but all the information about our souls, how he knows us. So today we're concluding our series in Summer in the Psalms, which I don't know about you, but I've enjoyed this series, this fun series in the book of Psalms, which I know it only lasted a couple months. And if you've looked at the book of Psalms at least a couple of times, you would know there's 150 chapters. And so we couldn't go through every single one. It would take about 3 years to go through every one, at least 3 years. But I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to know more about the Psalms, but are not able to go too in depth and want to do a deeper study, I encourage you to pick up this book. It's called Prayer, Praise, and Promises by Warren Wiersbe. It's a fantastic book. Warren Wiersbe is a fantastic author, great theologian. My dad actually took one of his classes. And something unique about this book is that it's a devotional, a year-long devotional through the book of Psalms. And each day, it's very short. It's a very simple read. In fact, just to take a look at July 19th, today's date, we can take a look. It's very short. It's barely a page long. So it's a simple read. In fact, the unique thing about this is that the task was for Warren Wiersbe to write a devotional that lasts shorter than a commercial. So you can read this. You can wake up in the morning. You can read the text and then read one of these. That'll take you 10 minutes at most. So it's a very simple read, a very good read. Marjorie and I actually read it before we go to sleep at night, and so it's a very, very good read. Again, it's called Prayer, Praise, and Promises by Warren Rearsby. It's about $20 on Amazon, so I highly encourage it. So enough about that. Let's actually take a look at today's psalm, our final psalm in this series, looking at Psalm 139. And in our first point, we see verses 1 through 18, we see the Lord knows. We see the Lord knows. So let's take a look into it right now. So starting in verse 1, it says, O Lord, you have searched me and know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my laying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you know it completely, O Lord. You hem me in behind and before. You have laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to obtain. Verse 7. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If you make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. Verse 11. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me. Verse 12, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. Verse 13, for you create my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made, for your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you. When I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God! How vast is the sum of them! Were I to count them, they were outnumber the grains of sand. When I wake, I am still with you. I mean, definitely reading those 18 verses. So much about God in those verses, friends. There's so much about who God is and how much he knows. David, who wrote this, he starts off with saying, "O Lord," which, friends, we see that the word Lord, that's in all caps. Do we remember what the "O Lord," all caps means? It's Yahweh. It's God's special name. Yahweh, that's his holy name. So he's calling out to God, the one true God, the God Yahweh. Now we see here at the very beginning, he says, "O Lord, you have searched me and know me." Now the word search, this is the Jews, they refer to this, not just search me, not just to search the outer part of the body, not just what a person likes or dislikes. This is a deeper search. This is an inward search. This is someone who looks inside your soul. This is to dig deep throughout the mind, the body, the innermost being of who you are. We even see in verse 2, David says, "You know when I sit down, when I rise up. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my laying down. You are familiar with all my ways." Verse 4, it's, "Before a word is on my tongue, you know it completely, O Lord." So looking at that, David is saying that God, that Yahweh knows us. He knows when we sit up, when we wake up in the morning, when we lay down. He knows when we go out, when we come in. He knows the words on our tongues before we even say them. Now, usually there's one or two thoughts in a person's mind when they read this. The first one is this Santa Claus? Like, he knows when I wake up and when I lay down. It's like, that sounds like Santa Claus. Or the second thought is, do I need to call 911? Someone knows when I'm waking up, sitting down, my comings and goings. It's like, that sounds a little suspicious here. But it's not this weird stalking type of person who's watching you from afar, like trying to like know everything about you. This is God knowing everything about you. How he has dug deep inside of you and looked inside you. How God knows you. He knows what you're doing. He knows what you're thinking. He knows the words that are on your tongue before you even say them. That he already knows. He knows you deeply, emotionally. He knows you from a heavenly perspective, not an earthly perspective, friends, but heavenly perspective. In verse 6, David talks about how such knowledge that God has, how great knowledge that God has, it's too wonderful for him. How he says that in verse 6, such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to obtain. How the knowledge that God has, it's too wonderful for us. How we cannot withstand it. It's too great for us. Now, friends, I understand we might have some knowledge about maybe our friends, or our friends have knowledge about us. Same thing with spouse, same thing with co-workers, which I know Tom and Mary, which they're celebrating 36 years of being married together today. So I'm pretty sure you guys know a few things about each other over these last 36 years. And when it comes to God, he knows us even more than that. He knows the things that we're thinking about, the things that we struggle with. He knows our deepest, most fears. He knows us so much more. But also with this, he is everywhere. Wherever we go, he is there. So those first 6 verses, we're talking about how God knows us and how much he knows. But then the next 6 verses talks about how he's everywhere, how he's always around, he's always present. Even here, David talks about, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee? That there's no escape from God. See, Hadassah has grown to love a particular game called hide and seek, where she usually likes to count. She finds a good tree and then we have to go hide and she has to come find us. I mean, she's still 2, but she kind of doesn't fully understand, but she still enjoys the game. But the point is, we try to go hide and like she has to come find us, or vice versa. But see, when it comes to God, we can't play hide and seek. He's found us. He's already found us. We've already lost that game. He already knows where we are. David gives a description. He emphasizes on how much God is around us. He even talks about, if I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on wings on the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. Friends, there's no escape from God. With David, he talks about the heavens. Let's think about that, friends. The heavens. Let's just say the highest point here on earth. What's the highest point that we can get to? For here on earth, the highest point is Mount Everest. Just over 29,000 feet above sea level. Thing is, God is there. And let's just say the lowest point on earth, the lowest point below sea level, that's the Dead Sea. That's 11,000 feet below sea level. God is there. If I rise on the wings, think about that. If I'm rising on wings, that means I'm always moving. I'm constantly moving from place to place. And yet God is there. If I settle on the far side of the sea, where I'm away from everyone, completely alone, isolated, God is there. That no matter where we go, God is there. We can't escape God. Even writes how, even with the darkness, we try to hide in the darkness. But yet, with God, the darkness will become light. How in the darkness, He will shine like the day. For the darkness is as light as you, as in God. That's what David was referring to. So we see with this, he knows everything. He's always around. Then we also see he's powerful. In the next 6 verses here, he's all powerful. Starting in verse 13, he says, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth." So talking about this, David is referring to how he made David, knitted him together in his mother's womb. Now with this section here, it's unique because David's referring to how God made him special. How God made every single one of us special, unique, different. God didn't make us into robots. He could have. He has the power to make us all the same thing, but he doesn't. He doesn't do that. He chose to say, you know what? I'm going to make everyone different. Even identical twins, they will be different. They will have different fingerprints. They are unique, their own special way. Which I know, thinking about like, wait a second. If everyone is special, then that doesn't really make anyone special. Which I know that saying does come up once in a while, but don't think of it as if everyone is special, then that means no one's special. It's everyone is one of a kind. if you think about it, if there's a one of a kind, like growing up, if there was a one of a kind Barbie that my sisters heard about, it's like there was only one Barbie that looked that very way. That was special, unique. It's priceless. Or for me, I always wanted to know what is the most special car, like a special Hot Wheels. If there was one car made one way, and not 10 of them, not 100 of them, but there's one car made one way, that car is now priceless. That's how we got to think about it, friends. How God made every single one of us special, made us all unique, different. There's only one of you in the entire world, which makes you priceless. God could have easily just made us into robots, all of us the same. In fact, he could have just made us to just say, you know what? God could have just said, I'm going to make everyone worship me. Make everyone the same, and they will all worship me. But God didn't do that. God made us not just different and unique. He allowed us to have free will to either worship him or to sin against him. Because God doesn't want us to be robots. He wants us to freely love him, to treasure him, to worship him. So then with that, David, he then transitions from talking about the greatness of God, of who he is, and then talks about the troubles that he's in. And in the last 6 verses, verses 19 through 24, we see the Lord judges. So again, verses 19 through 24, we see the Lord judges. It says, if only you would slay the wicked, O God. Away from me, you bloodthirsty men. They speak of you with evil intent. Your adversaries misuse your name. Do I not hate those who hate you, O Lord, and adore those who rise up against you, or adhere those who against you? I have nothing but hatred for them. I count them my enemies. Verse 23, search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting. So in this section, David goes into this part where he's trying to emphasize that he is different than his enemies. That he is loyal to God, unlike these other people, that these are the enemies of you, Lord. How they speak against you, that they are wicked, that they are bloodthirsty, that they speak with evil intent, that they misuse his name, use the name of God, which some of your Bibles might even say how they take the Lord's name in vain, how they use God's name as a swear word, how they speak against his name. David writes how much he hates the people that hate God. That he calls those his enemies, that they're the same as God's enemies. David saying he is nothing like that. Lord, get rid of them. Slay them, O Lord, those who speak against your name. He then talks about how he's saying, search me, search my heart, search me, O God, and know my heart, which we saw that earlier where David is saying when it's talking about searching, like, Lord, search me. This is not talking about like search into the body. This is the inner soul. Search me. Find anything wrong with me, O Lord. which I know for all of us, we're all sinners. We all fall short to the glory of God. But for him, he's saying, Lord, I am not like them. I do worship you. I glorify your name. They use your name in vain. They take your name in vain. They speak against you. How David is saying, search me, O God, to know my heart. Even test me and know my anxious thoughts. He's asking, Lord, please test me. Know my thoughts. Know what I'm about to do. Lord, I am loyal to you, to only you, O God. To see if there, and at the end is, see if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. David is saying, search me to know me. If there's anything wrong with me, lead me into the right path. Lead me towards the right way. Friends, when I was reading this, when David is saying, Lord, lead me in the way of everlasting, it took me to John chapter 14, where Jesus, he's in the upper room with his disciples. He's telling his disciples that he has to leave. But then Thomas, he's replying back saying, like, Lord, we don't know where you're going. Show us the way. And then Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Jesus is the way of everlasting. He's not a way. He's not could be a way. David here, he's saying, show me the way everlasting. And Jesus says, I am the way. Jesus is the way of everlasting. The one and only way. And so looking at all of these things, looking at this chapter, there's a lot more that we can go into this chapter. We just don't have that much time. But looking at all this, there's three things to take home for our application. Now, with our application, we're going to be looking at the three omnis. I don't know if you've heard of them. There's three omnis, which that word omni, it's Latin for all. And so we're going to be looking. So our first application, God is omniscient. God is omniscient, which means all-knowing. So again, that word omni, that means all, and then niscient, or a way to that I kind of think of it, the way to spell it, it's omniscience. So omni meaning Latin, meaning all. The word science, knowledge. So that's a way to help me with the spelling. Omniscience, omniscient, all-knowing. God knows everything, friends. This is something that should comfort us. How God, he knows more than just our favorite colors. He knows more than our favorite food. He knows more than our favorite music, which that's something that maybe our coworkers, our friends, our spouses would know. But God knows our souls. In this text, he knows the words we're going to say before they're even on our tongues. That's how much God knows us, friends. In fact, with that, he knows your deepest, darkest secret. He knows what you really think about your boss or your neighbor. He knows what keeps you up at night. He knows your struggles. And with all of this, God loves you. He loves you, friends. and he just wants you to love him back. He wants you to know him. Our second omni today is omnipresent. So, omnipresent. So, as we talked about, omni, all, and then present. All present. That God is all around us. He is everywhere, friends. There's no true escape from God. No matter where we go, God is there. To the highest mountain, to the lowest depths, God is there. Now, kind of like with this, it kind of reminded me about how about 20 years ago, or maybe even a little bit more than that, they came out with the first cell phones. How they were pretty much like a massive brick. I still remember my dad, he got this cell phone. It was literally like a brick, and it had very poor cell reception. We kept it in the car for emergencies. And nowadays we got these fancy cell phones now, but it just reminded me back in that time where you had to be in the right spot. You had to be angled a certain way, and then maybe the certain time of the month or during hours of the day, the clouds had to be shifted in a certain direction, and the wind blowing in a great direction. And with that, you can actually get a couple bars for a good reception. Or maybe your phone, maybe there's an issue with the battery. Maybe there's problems with it's not fully charged yet. Sometimes when I'm on a call, it just breaks out and it's just like, oh no, I didn't charge it enough. But you see, friends, with God, we don't have that problem. Because he's omnipresent, he's all present. We have a great connection. We have full bars. We have a full charge in our batteries. We have a clear and direct connection to the Father. He's always present, friends. And then finally is omnipotent. So the three omnis. So the first one is omniscient, so all-knowing. Omnipresent, so he's all present. And then finally, omnipotent, which is all powerful. That God is all powerful, omnipotent again. Able to do anything consistent with his own nature. How in here you talked about how God made you unique and different. That God has that power. Now, some people have asked, well, if God is all powerful, so you're saying that there are no limits to him? Like, does God actually have any limits? No. That answer is yes. That God does have some limits. Now, you're probably thinking, what is Pastor Tim talking about here? If he's all powerful, then what are God's limits? See, God cannot lie. He tells the truth. Which, for friends, I find that very comforting. God will tell the truth. We might not like it. We might not even want it, but God will tell the truth. He cannot lie. He cannot deny himself. He cannot take his own name in vain. He cannot be tempted to sin. God is holy, so he cannot sin. But also with that, God chose to limit his power to give us free will. God could have made us all robots, as we talked about before. but he made each of us unique. He gave us the ability to then either worship him or to sin against him. God had the choice to do that. He had the choice to make us robots or give us free will, and he chose free will. God also had the choice to save his son from death, but he didn't. Because the only way that we can be saved is through his son, Jesus. Friend, just thinking about that, we serve a God who is all-knowing, he's all-present, and all-powerful. Friends, what a great God that we serve. I understand we might not fully understand God because as we saw before, as David talked about before, like that knowledge is too wonderful. And yes, God's ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts, and that's in Isaiah 55. But how wonderful is it to know that we serve a God who is all-knowing, all-present, and all-powerful. Let us pray.